Hello, Duke fans. Welcome in to the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. Happy to chat with you guys today, as well as every single day, about the Blue Devils. Just like every day, make sure to check us out wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube. But we thank you so much for checking us out. The NBA Combine is in full swing with several former Blue Devils, several current Blue Devil commits, and several potential Blue Devil targets making their presence known with the individual drills, with the 5-on-5 scrimmages, and a lot of new information is coming out again in regards to current Blue Devils in the NBA draft that we know will not be coming back. Potential new Blue Devils who could be late additions, and some current Blue Devil commits. A lot going on. Again, Duke fans are in a bit of a unique spot in terms of just the lack of Blue Devil rotation pieces that are in the draft combine right now and going through the pre-draft process. Former Blue Devils, it's just Isaiah Evans, Cameron Boozer, and Malik Brown. Malik Brown not expected to be drafted. I wrote a story about him on si.com/college/Duke about why I think he deserves to be drafted and is a serviceable NBA player. But anyway, those are the only four that will be in the draft this year, eligible to be drafted, that came from Duke a season ago, which is a lot less than Duke fans are potentially used to. Duke will likely only have two draft picks this year. Saw its entire starting five get drafted last year. So again, great retention job by John Shire and his staff. Really highlights the kind of new era of college basketball we're in, where even being a first-round pick isn't enough to make it a done deal for a prospect to declare for the NBA draft. A guy like John Blackwell, who's committed to Duke, will almost definitely earn a higher pay. Not almost definitely, he definitely will be earning a higher paycheck in college basketball next season than if he were to go to the NBA draft. He's currently in the pre-draft process. John Blackwell, the number 3 overall player in the portal, according to 24/7 Sports. Not really seen as a draftable guy right now. Would be an absolute shock if he stayed in the draft over coming to Duke. But he is going through the pre-draft process. I also wrote a story on him about why I think that's a good thing and why Duke fans should be happy about that. But again, Duke bringing back 4 of its top 6 scorers. Patrick Gungba was a projected first-round pick. He elected to return to Duke for what is likely a higher paycheck. But just not all that much action in terms of former Blue Devils at the NBA Combine, which is a good thing for John Shire and his staff, getting a lot of those guys back, along with, as we mentioned before, the other key additions like Blackwell, like Drew Charnowski from Belmont, along with the number 1 overall 2026 recruiting class headlined by 3 5-star prospects in Cameron Williams, Deron Whippy Jr., and Bryson Howard, Joaquin Boomche, the late addition to that. But in terms of the NBA Combine, John Blackwell, I think, is a very interesting case because this is a case that Duke was in kind of a year ago, not exactly similar, but fairly similar. I've talked about this in the previous show, so I won't go into detail with this all too much. But last year, Duke signed Washington State transfer guard Cedric Coward, who was one of the top guards in the entire portal. Was a big-time signing for the Blue Devils. He was expected to be a big part of the rotation, kind of in the similar role that John Blackwell is expected to be with Duke next season, kind of that go-to guy on the offensive side of the ball. So he committed to Duke, Cedric Coward did, and then he kept it clear to the public that his focus was on the NBA draft. He was going to go through the draft process. If he thought he could be drafted in the first round, he was going to stay in the NBA draft. And that's ultimately what happened. Cedric Coward went through the pre-draft process, went through the combine. He elected to remain in the draft, bypass the Blue Devils. He went on to be selected in the lottery by the Memphis Grizzlies and put together a pretty solid season in the NBA in Memphis. But obviously Duke looking to avoid a situation like that with John Blackwell. Now with John Blackwell, it's a pretty different situation because John Blackwell is not viewed as a first-round pick, hardly even viewed as a draftable guy. ESPN currently has Blackwell as the number 84 overall draft prospect. But he's still going through this process. When he hit the portal, he said one of his main points of emphasis for choosing the program was a program that could develop him for the NBA. And he talked to CBS Sports' Andy Katz before the combine began at the NBA Combine and did not fully commit to the Blue Devils, said it is still up in the air, said he would love to play for Duke, but is also keeping the NBA open. So a lot to be decided from him. Still have zero expectation that Blackwell will remain in the NBA. It wouldn't make any financial sense he will probably be earning a very, very, very hefty paycheck with the Blue Devils in the college game next season. But nonetheless, John Blackwell still going through the pre-draft process. Like we mentioned, he's the number 3 overall player in the portal, according to 247 Sports. Established himself as one of the best scorers in college basketball as a junior at Wisconsin last season. Averaged 19.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and over a steal a night on 43% shooting and 38.9% from 3 on 7.3 attempts. Went for over 20 points 15 times, went for over 35 times, including 2 straight 30-point performances in the Big Ten tournament against Illinois and Washington, respectively. So another reason I just don't see a world where he stays in the NBA draft is he is set to have the opportunity to put together an All-American caliber season for Duke in 2026-27. He's going to have the freedom to have the ball in his hands. He's going to have the freedom to take 12 to 15 shots a night. He's going to be the go-to guy on the offensive side of the ball. Aside from wanting to go to a program that could develop him for the NBA, Blackwell noted that he wanted to be at a program where he could be the go-to guy because despite averaging 19 points, he was actually the number 2 option on that Wisconsin team. Nick Boyd averaged over 20. He was the main guy offensively. Blackwell hits the portal. He's heading to Duke. There's really no true proven volume scorer on the Blue Devils besides Blackwell. He will have all the freedom in the world to take as many shots he wants. He can score in a lot of different ways. He moves well off the basketball. Guys like Caden Boozer, Caleb Foster, and Deron Rippey are very talented passing guards. And then Duke has one of the best passing big man duos in college basketball with Patrick Gungba and Drew Charnowski, both of whom averaged over 2 assists a night last season. But it's just so different than that situation of Coward because Blackwell just really isn't anywhere on draft boards, and his paycheck in college basketball would just be so much higher. But nonetheless, he put together a pretty solid performance in the first day of the 5v5 scrimmages at the Combine. He went for 16 points, 5 boards, and assists, and 4 turnovers on 6 of 11 shooting from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Again, is this the type of performance that's going to dramatically boost his draft stock? No. It's a solid performance he put together. He showed his scoring ability, but is this really going to move the needle? Absolutely not. Is it going to bring him into the first round? Absolutely not. If anything, a guy like Blackwell getting this type of in-game action against NBA level competition is just going to help him as he ultimately comes back to the college game after going through this pre-draft process, getting this feedback from NBA scouts, NBA front offices, going up against this competition that will be headed to the NBA in just a couple of months. But just don't see a world where this really moves the needle. But again, 16 points on efficient shooting. Again, showed his ability to have the ball in his hands, create his own. And again, he moves very well without the basketball. I still don't think at all that Duke fans should be worrying about John Blackwell staying in the NBA draft. I just don't see a world where that makes any sense. It doesn't make any financial sense. I love that he's in the NBA Combine. Did a show about this the other day because all it's really going to do is help him when he comes back to college. It's only going to make him better going up against this competition, seeing what he has to work on, and then going back in the college game where he's expected to lead the scoring charge for a Duke team that's looking to get back to a deep run in the NCAA tournament. I think it's great he's in there. I'm not worried about it at all. Duke fans shouldn't be worried about it. But that was his performance at the 5v5 scrimmages. But again, do not be worrying about it. If you're a Duke fan, John Blackwell will in all likelihood be back with the Blue Devils in 2026-27, ready to put together an All-American type campaign, All-ACC type campaign. Could average 22, 23, 24 points per game. Very excited for what he can do. Now, there's another portal target that sort of fell off Duke's radar after a while, but early when he was in the portal was linked to the Blue Devils pretty heavily, and that's Allen Graves. Allen Graves is the number 4 overall player in the portal, according to 247 Sports. Really, really talented wing, Graves is, and the type of guy that can really contribute to a team right away, especially a championship caliber team. So Graves just wrapped up his redshirt freshman campaign at Santa Clara. Was a very, very talented player. Again, he's very versatile, and really showed that in the NCAA tournament. And Santa Clara lost in the first round. Should have beaten Kentucky, but folded kind of at the last minute there. But so as a redshirt freshman, Graves averaged 11.8 points, 6.5 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 1.9 steals a night on 51.2% shooting from the field and 41.3% from three on 2.6 attempts per game. The box score isn't going to jump out at fans, but his skill set is NBA ready right now, which is why he's considering the NBA. He's viewed as a potential first round pick in the 2026 draft. Very solid passer for his position. He can score in a lot of different ways on all three levels of the floor. He can guard multiple positions. He doesn't turn the ball over, average 0.7 turnovers per game last season. He's also a terrific offensive rebounder, averaged just under 3 offensive boards a game last season. Again, very versatile player, an NBA ready skill set. He could probably get better and boost his draft stock for 2027. But similar to Coward, he said it is his priority that he wants to remain in the 2026 NBA draft. But he did provide an update on where his head's at right now, according to ESPN's Jeff Borzello. So according to Borzello, Alan Graves said the only schools he's talked to are Duke and LSU. That was the same even when he entered the portal. Duke and LSU were really the only two schools that seemed to be in contention for Alan Graves. Kentucky was reported by Borzello at the NBA Combine to have reached out to Graves' agents, but Duke and LSU are clearly the top two in his recruitment. It's been the main focus that he would like to remain in the NBA draft if he's a first-round pick. This is also according to Borzello. So if Alan Graves is remaining a first-round pick, he would like to remain in the 2026 NBA draft. Again, not, a big-time situation in terms of a guy Duke needs. Duke might be the deepest team in the country next season already. John Shire can go 10 or 11 deep with the roster he already has, but at this point, it almost would seem too crowded if Duke gets a guy like Alan Graves, but you can always make room for a really versatile prospect like that. According to ESPN, in their latest mock draft, Graves is slotted as the number 22 overall pick to the Philadelphia 76ers. According to Borzello, if Graves feels comfortable, he will be a first-round pick. He will remain in the draft. Again, not a guy Duke really needs. We've already gone over John Shire's additions, who he's bringing back, who he's bringing in to the program, and there's just so many guys that are going to be fighting for minutes, adding, granted, one of the best players in the portal and a guy who would immediately jump in to the starting lineup can't hurt. But this Duke team finally feels set. I don't think Duke fans should get too into Alan Graves as a prospect. I think it's much more likely than not he remains in the NBA draft, although you have to think with a weaker 2027 class, there's a chance he could come back to college, develop, kind of really hone that versatility, and boost his stock for the 2027 draft that is viewed as a much weaker class than the 2026 class. As we know, the 2026 draft class is one of the most talented in recent memory. That was really the reason I thought Isaiah Evans would come back. I thought his stock would jump up without him really needing to do anything if he just remained the 3-and-D prospect that he is, just because that class is so much weaker. Obviously, that didn't happen, but that's where we stand with Alan Graves. This was another update at the NBA Combine. This was by Borzello. So Duke and LSU, the only two suitors seemingly for Alan Graves if he were to return to college, but doesn't seem like he will be returning to college. Seems more likely than not he will be in the NBA draft. Just the fact that he will stay, if he's a first rounder alone, I think points to the fact that the NBA is his goal. It would probably take a lot to get him to come back to college. It's just a redshirt freshman as well. He's 19 years old. And his skill set's ready for the NBA right now. He's ready to contribute to an NBA team now. But those are the latest updates on Duke potential recruiting, potential new pieces. I don't think Alan Graves will be heading to Duke. I do think John Blackwell will be back with the Blue Devils, and I don't think fans need to worry about that. But that's where we stand with the Blue Devils from a recruiting standpoint. A few updates from the NBA Combine. A solid performance by Blackwell. Again, very excited for what he's going to be doing at Duke. Duke fans, do not worry. I fully expect him to be coming back to Duke. I'd be absolutely shocked if he didn't. I'd stay cautious with Alan Graves, something to monitor. It seems like Duke doesn't even have room for a guy like Alan Graves. It would be crazy. Duke would have 3 5-star freshmen coming off the bench in a scenario where Alan Graves comes back to the Blue Devils, but I don't expect that to be the case. But if he does come back to school, Duke obviously will remain in contention for the former Santa Clara Bronco. But that is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Make sure to check us out every single day at si.com/college/Duke and check out our pod every day, wherever you get your podcast, whether that be Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever that may be. Once again, my name is Hugh Stream, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI, and I'll see you tomorrow.